man, what's going on within our world.
Listen, man, I question everything.
Some things should stay secret.
But the greatest danger of all would be to do nothing.
Where's that money really going and what is it going on?
Projected exactly as it was photographed.
It all looks just shady as fuck.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It's a crazy world out there.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake.
The Illuminati run the world.
We are the masters of our fate.
People hiding the truth.
They're hiding in plain sight.
Let's talk conspiracy
Let's talk conspiracies.
You know it's bad when he's wincing.
When he goes, where should we start? Because we've all bought one. We've got some others floating around in our head. Where do you want to start?
I'm happy to start if you want me to start.
You know what? Let's let the lead conspiracy theorist. Before we start, can we also just say how we feel about conspiracy theories?
Okay.
So which angle are you approaching this from? Brian?
I think that people are often dismissive of conspiracy theories because we've been trained to associate the word conspiracy instantly with the word theory,
right.
And that's a government tactic to make us not believe any conspiracy theory because what they want to do is put those two together to make it sound like it's not true, it's just a theory, when often when you look into conspiracies there's often facts to back it up and it is just a conspiracy.
What if they were called fact theories?
What if they're just called conspiracies?
Right.
People hiding the truth. That's all that conspiracies are basically.
Okay.
And the reason that they're called theories is basically because people don't want you to believe them, but sometimes they're just conspiracy facts.
It's also
Brian's
just
theory.
Yeah, that's Brian's theory. Yeah, it's also just good for.
You'll never ever hear anyone in a BBC, Sky News, CNN, anyone say the word conspiracy without theory always following it up. Why is that?
I think there's also legal ramifications.
That's the narrative they want to paint.
Conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theories are running wild. They're false. They're crackpot. They're nonsense.
If you are on the news and you are talking about some of the really horrible conspiracies that people have.
But they're the ones we're not allowed to talk about today.
Yeah, there are ones we are allowed to talk about. There's ones that we thought best not
to be honest with you, when I was a bit younger, I went down that rabbit hole and started watching all of these YouTube videos. And in a way, because conspiracy theories are really interesting, you kind of want to get into it and believe a lot of the stuff that is bollocks. So then you have to, as you get a little bit older, then you realise, all right, a lot of that wasn't actually true, but some of it is.
Yeah,
it's just good fun though, isn't it?
And then you've got to make your mind up of what do you believe.
I think the bottom line, you should always hear them out, but you should also take both sides with a pinch of salt.
So where do you two stand on it then? What's your... Because I'd say I'm 90% skeptic of all of it. I feel like it's just kind of a...
I'm skeptical of most of the mainstream media as well, but and I think also over the last few weeks we've had all this Kanye West tweeting and talking about freeing people's minds and stuff. I think some of the stuff he said is good, some of the stuff he said is terrible.
I'm quite sort of middle ground, and then I'm open to everything.
Interpretation.
Yeah.
Blank canvas.
I also think though you can...
I'm also a bit thick, so...
we mock mainstream theories. I think we should also mock some conspiracy theories, because some people just...
I think conspiracy theories are
so what's the difference?
A lot more than mainstream. I mean, take William over here.
Yeah.
Flat Earth, no trolls, Keith's only.
I guess what I feel like conspiracy theories and mainstream theories are just playthings for rich people who want to make some money. So they'll release a conspiracy theory, they'll make a load of money out of it, and then they'll...
I think the problem is so for example, just to take two things that are very closely linked, the Iraq War.
Yeah.
It is now a provable fact that the reason we went to war was a conspiracy,
right?
Where it wasn't a conspiracy theory, it was a fucking conspiracy that there was no weapons of mass destruction.
What's the difference between a conspiracy and a conspiracy theory?
Well, the word theory.
Surely conspiracy.
The word theory implies it's less trustable.
The Iraq War, we went there under the illusion, because of the politicians telling us that there was weapons of mass destruction, we need to stop Saddam Hussein now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was now all bullshit. We went on the... It's
because he had a Stargate.
we went into war with Iraq right off the back of 9/11. Everyone questions the Iraq War, and that's the official story that we now know to be true. But nobody's really allowed to question 9/11 in the same way. Not on BBC anyway.
Do you think they should be? I mean? Do you not think there's some information that should just stay private to like
so
people in power?
9/11.
We should question both official stories on everything. Do
you
know what I mean? Whereas some things I think are more questionable than others.
But do you not think some things should stay secret? Like some things should stay in, or better, not known by everyone?
I guess I would agree with that if society worked that way, but I think in practice we found out that doesn't work. So now we know that, let's not act like that.
So things I think that
in terms of how
secret are like where is Osama bin Laden? Do you know
dead.
What I mean?
He's at the bottom of the sea.
But even that was shrouded in secrecy as well. That was bizarre.
I know they didn't want anyone going and getting him.
There's no proof that bin Laden wasn't dead years before he actually died, and there's a lot of shit going on about him as well. But the point is
are there conspiracy theories about him?
Well, so there was rumors of him having people dress up to look like him and not actually be him, and
we've all seen Team America.
But the point is all we've ever had on this is how far you can go in your head, right? You see a man on the screen who's the head leader of Al Qaeda, the Taliban, and all of that, and you're told this is the boogeyman, right?
Yeah.
But
is that his name?
He's never. It's not like he walks into.
By that on a weekend.
It's not like he walks into question time and says, "Oh, well, then we'll have it out. Then my beliefs against yours." We've not actually seen this bloke alive or dead, so all we've got is these very poor quality videos coming out of his.
Why are they still using VHS?
His organisation.
They needed carries over there.
Yeah, they.
And there was a lot of people who questioned the validity of his videos. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes later videos, his beard would be much darker. It was maybe he's just getting just much for men. Darker.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe he's changed.
He had a brand deal, didn't he?
What I was trying to get at with the summer and a lot of these conspiracy theories is you can question and question and question, and ultimately there is no fucking answer at the end of it. So what we want to do today is question things where we want to try and question things where we can decide an answer.
Yeah.
Oh. Right.
So
this is where we start with your theory.
I'm happy to go with my first.
Your crackpot theory.
Crackpot.
So, I made some notes on the way down.
Oh.
My conspiracy theory
is
the moon landing.
Right. You think it happened?
Definitely not. To be honest with you, I think what we need to make this about isn't whether or not it happened, but whether or not the footage is real. Because there is the possibility that they landed on the moon, couldn't show us the footage because of the technical difficulties of that, and faked a lot of footage to basically give people some sort of evidence of it, and then thought we'll never tell them the truth anyway.
Do you believe we landed on the moon though?
Because the footage looks extremely fake, I don't think we landed on the moon.
Just in 1969?
Basically, we've had a lot of lunar missions under the same President Nixon. After that, we never. I'll set out my stall.
I call this one Moonspiracy.
Every single thing we've ever done in humanity has progressed, except one.
Except for these videos.
In this channel.
Right.
It is going backwards. No, they know the views.
Now go on.
They've seen the views. Don't forget to like the video.
Please.
Everything we've ever done in history has progressed.
What do you mean by that?
Except two.
Right.
The XO YouTube channel and space travel.
Right.
So, obviously, in the 60s, 70s, under the presidency of Nixon, who was the most crooked president in the history of America.
Allegedly.
Theory.
We went to the moon. I can't remember how many times it was. It doesn't fucking matter. The point is after that, we went to the moon, and it was, that's it. That's enough, lads. Job's a good one. We'll never be needing to do that again. We probably found out.
Is there much there though? It is just a big.
It's just a big rock, isn't it? What's the point in exploring further than that? You know what?
Also, let's just be honest. The people there didn't like us.
So what I'm suggesting here is, if you look at transportation, technology, TVs, phones, cars, everything.
TV is the same as getting to the moon.
All technology has improved and developed, and everything has gotten better, bigger and better, except space travel. That's the one thing that we've went to the moon.
The one thing.
It literally is the one thing. You name me anything else that's gone backwards in terms of technological advancements other than space travel since the 70s.
Concorde, we made that and sacked it off.
Although Concorde's sort of in a similar area. I'll let you keep going. I guess I slightly disagree with the premise of that, because actually in terms of technology, we've gone more towards productization rather than progressing technology, and so we try to make products for humans.
I disagree with that. I think it's a very fair statement to say in the last 50 years, technology has progressed dramatically in every single aspect. Look, even in 10 years, remember Packard Bell PCs that we had compared to now, man? I mean, even in 10 years, so in 50 years, things have progressed massively.
Sorry, Packard.
Apart from space travel.
Right. Going on that premise, what do we know?
So, logically, if we did in fact go to the moon, which I'm going to get into the specifics of what I've got. I'm pressing this paper, I haven't even read this bit.
Right. If
we went to the moon, I think it's a fair statement to say that within that 50 years, we would have continued progressing on that as the way we have everything else. So we would have gone to the moon, we would have pushed it to Mars, because we have then...
That's a different kettle of fish, though, isn't it?
But it's a different planet. But the point is once you've done one, the chances are you've understood how to get out of the Earth's atmosphere, you've built all the equipment, there's no reason why we couldn't man a spacecraft to go even further and further and further. We've done everything that proves at that point we can do that.
Right.
Let's do it further, bigger, better, faster, stronger, further, bigger, better, faster, stronger, further, bigger, better, faster, stronger, like all of that technology has. So but
in terms of the size and the gravity of that task, it changes massively when you're starting to go, okay, we'll go to a different planet. You can't just go on Mars and then... Well, actually, what comes after Mars is it?
Well, I mean, some of them are gas planets, so you can't really go there.
Saturn.
But we can't go the other way. And going closer to the moon.
In theory, even in, you know what I mean?
Going closer to the sun.
I agree with what you're saying, but equally...
Venus.
The lack of effort and the absorption of money from NASA would suggest that they should have been trying to go further, because NASA take a fuck ton of money and there is not a lot of evidence to say what they're spending it on a lot of the time.
They're spending it on trying to prove the Earth isn't flat.
So,
I'm telling you.
All of the...
Just to be clear, NASA's only mission is not just to go to the moon, though, is it? It's also to launch satellites and to...
every other manned mission outside of the Nixon presidency has been within the Earth's atmosphere. We've never left the Earth's atmosphere and past the Van Allen radiation belt since Nixon's presidency in the last 50 years. Nixon, the most crooked president.
Do you mean humans haven't? Like, you haven't sent a human back?
A human being hasn't passed outside the Earth's atmosphere since then. There's a reason for that.
Do you think Russia didn't?
I don't think anyone has.
You don't think Russia did either?
I don't think anyone's got the technology to go through the Van Allen radiation belt, because that is
at that time
it's
now.
dead ever. I don't think we're there now.
Not now.
If we were there now, we'd be gone past it, because
strap a load of TV. They've progressed.
It's a really dangerous radiation belt to pass through. Like, we would pretty much, a lot of scientists say we'd be vaporized basically as soon as you go through that.
Here's one thing that I always find problematic about conspiracy theories is we sort of pick and choose the science sometimes. So maybe I understand where you're coming from with not being able to go out to space. Why do you believe about not being able to go through the atmosphere, those scientists, but you don't question the scientists that say we couldn't go through the Van Allen?
So the reason I believe that is after looking at the facts and thinking to myself, well, that does sound very unrealistic. For example, back in the day around this time, people had the old cameras where you'd had film developed.
Yeah.
So when you take those old cameras through an X-ray at an airport, your film would actually it would be done. It would be fucked. You wouldn't get the pictures developed. But those astronauts used regular cameras, took them through the Van Allen radiation belt, went and had a few snaps on the moon, brought them back through the Van Allen radiation belt, which is a little bit...
Oh, you're not... But the thing is, you're in a capsule, you're protected by that.
You're not in the capsule when you're out on the moon, though.
To pass through this belt...
So, explain the Van Allen radiation belt, so maybe that'll help.
So Van Allen radiation, it would literally come through the spacecraft. Like, there's... You're fucked.
Did they stream it, though, the pictures?
So they did stream it, and we've got footage. At this time, for those who don't know, JFK had been assassinated. It was a very shady time in the government.
One of my favourite assassinations in history.
JFK gets assassinated, Nixon's in, and then there's obviously... There's a space race with Russia, which was basically dick measuring between... But it's a war of sorts, basically, proving... who's the more powerful country without actually blowing the fuck out of each other.
We won it.
I think that's probably the biggest reason to believe that particular war would be
so there was
the politics of the time.
So there's a lot of pressure on both sides, and both sides were faking a lot at the time as well, to be the first man on the moon, and Russia. It's believed that Russia, by a lot of people, were closer than us to doing it, and they were still fucking miles off as well. And then out of nowhere, we land on the moon.
Because they sent Yuri Gagarin into space.
Yeah.
Well, no, mate, they didn't, because they couldn't have got through the Van Allen radiation belt.
If you look at the footage of that guy, that is so fucking fake. It is so fucking fake. But there's even worse footage of that.
Also, to be fair, Russians are better at making
Michael
cameras.
Jordan go into space?
Yes. yeah. How did the Looney Tunes get there?
Just to be clear, I'm not disputing you can go into space. I'm just saying you can't leave our atmosphere.
So enter wire supports. This is a tried and tested way of relieving weight from performers. You can see the ping at the top of the frame.
Yeah, it just looks dodged, doesn't it?
Telltale evidence for slightly floating or dangling effect of the jump salute.
Why did they bring a kid?
And then he dabs on the Russians.
Yeah,
They say it would be difficult, nigh on impossible in that time, to create a big enough light source that would create a light condition like that back in the day, back in the 60s. And they say it would even be quite difficult now to do that.
So what, a great big light to film them with?
Yeah, they basically looked at the footage, and then they looked at the way that you would have to film it back then, and they basically worked out how you would have to film it, and said, well, actually it would be impossible to film that without that sort of light source.
Yep.
Let me give you a hand, he says.
There goes Barry.
Now, that doesn't look right to me. I don't know about you. He's literally pulled from his back up there.
Look at it again. The astronaut is getting up with the wire taking the weight.
That doesn't look right. There's no way that can't be right.
Trick. And here it is at normal speed.
We've done the necessary work to establish that percentage. You've doubled it in speed.
Proof,
yeah.
So what's...
Someone see the bottom corner, it says edited in Premiere Pro.
Yeah. Definitely not Premiere Pro.
At this point, we were suspicious.
Yeah, because it had a Sony Vegas watermark on everything. Audio jungle over the top of everything.
This is the moon landing flag. Obviously,
it's the flag, yeah.
Space is a vacuum, therefore there's no wind.
So does the moon not have an atmosphere?
There's no wind on the moon, though.
Okay. It's pretty good.
It does look like bollocks, doesn't it? It all looks just shady as fuck.
It looks a little bit like it's been photoshopped in there.
Yeah, well, you got nobody in 1970 ever thought they'd have the capabilities that we have now to just break all this down, even if we are 4 idiots at a table.
They literally went, YouTubers will never be watching this. And they went, what? And they went, just...
That the crew of Apollo 11 brought a high-resolution color video camera with them on their mission. Yet the only pictures broadcast live from the moon's surface were these from a low-definition black and white camera. The images.
They should have taken Con. Yeah, he did a good job.
So she's obviously suggesting that they deliberately made the footage as shit as possible,
right?
So that it was hard to make out.
And to be fair, it does look a bit like they've taken Con. It's a joke, come on.
It's not what he's taking, worth.
Just have to get to cop the merch.
Buzz Aldrin and King Kong Tom.
He's wearing the bloody t-shirt. Don't forget to cop the NASA merch. Head to the website. What's the website? You'll know.
NASA.com.
One gem was discovered just before the completion of this documentary. An old reel received by mistake.
Whoops.
It contains the
the work experience card.
Wait a minute. There's 2 reels on the table. Which one did you send?
The one for public distribution.
Yeah.
Oh, do not send.
Said, do not send. Oh, Keith.
Couldn't have made it clearer than the fact they've added in. Oh, it's not for general public.
The illusion they are attempting to create is the Earth at a distance to demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit.
What we're seeing now is a circular shape of Earth, but really it's a circular window with Earth very close, but being made to look like it's a very small Earth, and the blacked out sides that we're seeing is then with the lights off.
Yeah.
Now, we need them to prove that.
Right.
Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. How can this be when they were in Earth orbit only 9 hours earlier, and the moon is some 3 days' journey away?
All of the actual data that they produce, in Houston, they have all the ones and zeros.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is now gone, and all of the original footage, the original film, is gone as well.
Oh.
They had to reuse the footage apparently because
They had to reuse the film.
Someone wanted to record their wedding or something like that.
Right.
So Buzz was getting married.
Third season of Friends on here.
So
they filmed him through a window 50 feet away.
One other thing. After saying that, not necessarily on the moon landing because we don't know if they've actually done it.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the footage?
I think some of it could be faked. Yeah. I also know that
you could probably, even if you were doing it for real though, you probably would maybe want to fake some of it.
Just get to the 10-minute mark.
I've never liked you.
It's funny because actually they superimposed a Snapchat logo just over the Pacific.
It's all down here.
Yeah. I'm sort of. I think just because they faked some of it doesn't mean they faked all of it. No. I think also like people go back and do pickup shots and those kind of things.
I also think that's probably one of the most credible conspiracy theories we're likely to have around here. I reckon.
You haven't read this one, buddy.
But I would get why. Like it seems. But all conspiracy theories, you hear it and you're like, oh, it makes sense, like it all fits together. But
I guess does it really affect us that much now if we went to the moon anymore or not? What do you think it would change?
So what it changes is the fact that NASA get billions, if not trillions of pounds, of dollars even. Of taxpayers' money. Under the pretense that they're basically
going space,
furthering humanity, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Whereas where's that money really going, and what is it going on? Yes, so I believe that we've sent machines out there and done unmanned trips,
right?
But
without filming them.
Well, there is some film of some things out there that I think might be true. I don't know, but I just don't believe that. I think if we'd gone to like the moon again, and like let's say last year, for example, we'd been at the moon again and we had better footage, and the progression carried on, I'd believe it. But because it was one and done, basically, like in the space of 10 years, like a few times in Nixon's presidency, it's just
dodgy. Mine probably follows out quite well after that, but I feel like we talked about that for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and this is literally mine is bollocks. Before we start, mine's bollocks.
Right? Okay. Well, we've seen.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, but I'm actually interested in the flat Earth thing because I don't know why people believe in it.
I think the majority of it must come from, you look down the street, it's flat. You go high up, you don't see it. What this says here is, I think what this is all based around is no one's ever claimed Antarctica, and they feel like that's a ice wall, alright, because no one's ever claimed.
Brilliant, like a disc.
It'll be like, this is our country, and then everyone's like, well, just NASA protects the ice wall.
NASA protects the ice wall.
That's what I've got written here.
Right,
NASA and other government agencies.
Let's just be clear. What is your conspiracy theory you're putting forward?
Oh, the Earth is actually flat.
Flat Earth theory.
Right.
So let's also say there are some very famous people that believe this.
Hold on.
Really?
Kyrie Irving, basketball player for Celtics.
B.O.B. didn't he?
B.O.B. believes it. I think Lupe Fiasco for a little while was talking about
Lupe Fiasco went a bit crazy for it. He was the new Nas, and then he went mental. Yeah.
An uninterrupted 6-mile stretch of the River Bedford has been subject to many experiments. If the Earth is spherical, there should be a curvature of 8 inches in the first visible mile, 32 in the second, 72 in the third. Oh, is that the final point? Oh, therefore you should see it 6 miles away, but you cannot.
So an enduring myth was dispelled, and that so-called proof of the curvature of the Earth was rendered invalid. This series of time-lapse images provided by MIT, I believe, is therefore a deliberate lie.
Do you not think that's a little bit...
So I've met a flat earther before who actually was a pretty respected dude. He's a scientist. He works on like people's blood for a living for the NHS or whatever. But he's
in the right field.
He was a pilot in the Air Force, and one thing he maintained was so he mentioned about not being able to fly to such places like what is it?
Antarctica or the Arctic.
Saying that like and he also said that when he was flying, he'd never have to adjust for the Earth's curvature. He could just fly along straight, and he'd never have to go up or down.
For a pilot, he didn't understand gravity, did he?
But you've got to remember that an aeroplane defies Earth's gravity with the power to get up there. And what he's saying is...
it fights against it. It doesn't mean it doesn't...
Yeah, it doesn't defy it.
Yeah.
Not in that way. You know what I mean?
When you take off, and you actually get to a certain point, you're in control of the plane, whether it goes up, whether it goes down. You're going in a straight line.
Yeah, because of the force of the fucking...
Yeah.
No, but the point is he's saying over a certain amount of space.
Right.
So, like, for example, if you're going from England to Spain, over that time, you should notice... such a great space, the curve of the Earth.
Because it's cylindrical motion. You're accelerating towards the centre as you go around.
But like you said before, how do you know that for a fact though? Like,
because it works science, even when you fucking spin a ball around like that. So it's always accelerating towards the centre.
But a ball isn't a Boeing 747, is it?
But it's the same fucking motion.
So the idea is, if that's your so imagine if that's the centre of gravity and it's on a piece of string, and then I put a little model of a plane on the end and I swing it round.
It's accelerating that way and down.
So for the record,
we'll put it in post.
I said the same thing to him, and he seemed to think that even still, he should have noticed it by now.
How many Jaegers deep was he at the time?
No, he doesn't actually.
Well, it says he was flying, doesn't he?
Without wings.
Yeah. He took 3 he bombed 3 tablets and he was straight up.
So that's the only encounter I've had. Have you ever met any flat earthers yet?
I don't think I have.
Just
apart from the ones you've been talking to on Facebook. What they say is, when you look out to sea, it's flat, and that's one of the points that they make is, if we were living on a spherical object, shouldn't there be a curve to what you see?
What their basic argument is, I can't see it.
No,
so it can't be true.
But look, I want to actually instead of basically saying they're talking bollocks, I want to ask why they're talking bollocks. Do you know what I mean? Because that is an interesting point, and obviously I don't understand, but I'm sure there's some scientists out there watching now screaming at the fucking...
There's no scientists.
But why isn't there a curve when we look out to sea? Why is it flat? Should there not be a curve?
So you could say the same, you know, on TV adverts where the shampoo and it says a survey of 1,000 women.
I'm really interested to see where you come with this.
Right? And there are loads of women out there that go, but Pantene doesn't work for me, or whatever it is doesn't work for me. And you go, yeah, but that 1,000 women is a really small sample size. And so your eyes can only see so much of the Earth, and a small sample size of the Earth, you can't see the curve, because the curve is not... The world doesn't just go...
Yeah, you've got that one...
Like when I'm walking, I don't go, whoa!
You're bringing this back to us. Obviously, you're talking a small sample size. One step is certainly not enough to notice the gradient of the Earth.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And that's a good point. But I said this to this fella, and he said, when you look through a very powerful telescope and you look off into the distance, he said, I'm just trying to remember exactly, he said...
His mental words.
If the Earth is obviously rounded, you should look off to a certain point and then it should just stop. But he said... On a telescope, a very, very powerful telescope, it will go on, and it will go on, and it will go on, and it will go on.
Right. Because you just postpone that point. You just prolong that point. So
what he's saying is, if this is the straight line of the telescope, and this is the Earth, then they should get to a point where the Earth bends off and you get to as far as you can go. He's saying the closer you get, the more you angle the telescope and go further and further and further and further, it reveals more and more and more and more. And his point is that that's proof of the flat Earth.
What's the most powerful telescope, I guess, is my question. Because if it can...
They're probably pointed at the fucking moon.
Probably, but then... What's the most powerful telescope and how far can it see? Because if it can only see as far as maybe there wouldn't be a gradient.
But do you think apparently it should only take like the length of England to notice the gradient or whatever?
So can you see from John O'Groats to land?
So surely if we did have the Earth's most powerful telescope, you'd be able to see further than that distance if they can see on the moon and shit like that.
Is it also the case though that... So obviously... If you keep going, you'll hit a landmass which has gone above where you are.
Yeah.
And if you keep going, you'll hit a landmass which is below where you are. So is it not also just reliant on, well, that's a mountain, we can't see through that mountain?
I mean, I'm not him, so I don't know.
Thankfully, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this great podcast.
No, but I'm just relaying. I think it's interesting to have at least something where I've heard someone said something for it.
Yeah. So I listened to a podcast last week because I knew we were going to do conspiracy theories, and someone suggested that listening to conspiracy theories and the psychological effect of listening to conspiracy theories is that it makes you feel a sense of ownership and control over ideas that maybe you didn't feel before when it felt like it was someone else's idea.
They give you the understanding that you feel like you maybe didn't have.
Yeah, so it feels like you have a control of it feels like you know the world a little bit more, and that you're not that you're in on a secret, but that it's like there's almost like relief that you feel like you know something.
Well, you figured,
and that you've like figured it out.
And I think a lot of the time they offer a simpler understanding of what a larger cause could be. Like a lot of cases, it's like, it's just flat. It's easier to understand.
Because I think in our brains we think, well, we can just understand everything. But maybe because we can't understand everything, all these simple explanations, basically some people are almost searching for simple explanations because they want that explanation. And some people
I don't know, because I tell you what, some of these conspiracy theories are fucking more complex than what the fucking government say.
Yeah, but what
you start listening to them rattling off these.
But they have to be.
Don't even get started on 9/11 for Christ's sake.
But they always have to be more complex. And there's still a point where it can't get too complex. Do you know what I mean?
If anything, what I know through my own eyes is the world's flat. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I know you're not supposed to say that, but what I'm saying is, from my own experiences, from walking on this fucking planet and looking along the sea line, seeing flat, and walking along what is a flat surface, and going on my holidays in an airplane and seeing a flat surface.
Would it help if the floor was curved?
No, but the point is I understand how you can go through, have those experiences and think, yeah, the world's flat, mate. Do you know?
Right, understood.
There was like a documentary.
This is Stephen's contribution to this podcast. Come on.
Steve's being quiet today.
No, there's a documentary I watched. This guy was in a boat. I'm going to stop.
Is he getting paid for today? Can we?
Yeah, go on.
This guy was in a boat. I'm on a boat. Right.
And he went through a whole storm and everything, and he got to the edge of the sea. It turns out there's actually a wall there, and he climbed up these steps. And there's this guy who's filming everything.
I'm trying to empathise with these guys, because there'll be some who are really angry at us, because they, as we've seen with Will, they don't take kindly to ridicule.
Nah, we do have the biggest flat Earth group on Facebook there.
Do you?
You don't, do you?
Yeah, I do. Well,
you don't have
me and George made it. Yeah, it's the biggest one.
What's it called?
Flat Earth's no trolls Keith's only. If you want to follow that, it'll be down there.
How many people are in it?
50,000.
Wow.
I like the fact that he's searched all the other flat earthers just to make sure
we're the better one.
We're number one.
Well, we set out with the
number one. When's the merch coming on?
George's already made it. George made it and didn't give me a cut.
Do you want to go next, Lawrence?
You go next.
Hope you like chili toes, because we're about to blow your socks off.
Probably hitting on the mic.
Fucking hit you on the mic, whatever that means. Basically, guys, there's a crazy world out there, and I've been looking into deaths.
Oh.
Are they real? Are they fake? What do people gain from faking deaths? We'll find out now. I'm gonna start off with a little guy called Paul McCartney, aka Paul Mac, aka Paul McCartney,
the lad out the Beatles.
That's it, yeah.
And Wings.
Sir Paul McCartney. Sorry, Sir Paul, if you watch him. No, he does watch, don't worry. One of the most unusual pop culture conspiracy theories concerns a member of the Fab Four. Not us. With the average four.
Which one of us will be dead first?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
Probably me. Beatles legend has it that Paul McCartney secretly died in 1966, 3 years before the moon landing. I added that bit. At the height of the band's fame. And the three of the members covered it up, hiring someone who looked and sang exactly like him.
What a unique talent.
Well, he did have a unique talent.
So. There's a lot of people who believe this, actually. I've heard a lot about it.
We'll get into it, don't worry. Beatlemaniacs point to numerous clues in the band's later albums as proof of this. The Sgt. Pepper.
Can we call EXO fans exomaniacs? Is that not?
Doesn't that sound
Exomaniacs? It sounds alright.
Exomniacs.
To all the exomaniacs out there.
Sgt. Pepper's was
that album was awash with Paul is dead clues, because if you did go to such an extent to replace someone, you'd then leave little Easter eggs for the Beatlemaniacs to hug onto. First of all, there was in one of the songs, In a Day in the Life, it had he blew his mind out in a car. Also, the phrase Paul is dead, miss him became evident when the song was played backward. I don't understand this playing backwards thing.
Really?
I want to get on this. So
what was the
song called?
A Day in the Life.
John Lennon also mumbled, I buried Paul at the end of Strawberry Fields Forever, although he later said it was cranberry sauce. I mean, either way, John, what are you doing?
I buried Paul or cranberry sauce.
Also, the lyric...
Here we go.
Paul is dead, more clues.
Put the top one on because it'll play it backwards. It sounds exactly the same.
Definitely says something about Superman. Superman.
Now, can we just listen to the comments on this video? Because I'm wondering what people have said about it.
What I heard there was Paul died in a Ford Mondeo. Don't know about you guys.
Forwards I hear I could never see any other way.
Right, yeah.
And backwards I hear, this is what this person said, will Paul be there? He's Superman. Say that. Listen out for will Paul be there? He's Superman.
Right. I mean, that's a push. That's definitely a push. He definitely says it or eat.
Will Paul be there? He's Superman.
Will Paul be there?
It's a very big stretch.
It's mumble rap. They were ahead of their time.
Yeah.
I just put a fucking trap drums on that. It'd be fine. I think the album cover one, I remember doing this.
So Abbey Road, where he's walking across the road with no shoes on.
No, the fucking Sgt. Pepper one, there's like 8 or 9 stuff if you like take a mirror to it and like the drums and shit, it's like it shows it.
On the drum logo it says 1-1. 1x he die 1-1. I don't know what that means.
Apparently it says shortly after 044 a high pitched voice says Paul is dead. At the same moment the laugh covers it. So in the background, right, so in the foreground you're hearing da 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 da, but in the background you can hear a na na na, and it's that voice in the background, the lower tone, that is saying Paul is dead, is what they're saying.
Fine.
Bullshit.
That is tenuous at best.
Anyway,
there'll be someone out there now that'll really freak out by that one.
Paul McCartney would the original Paul McCartney have married Heather Mills?
That's questionable.
I wouldn't do that to anyone. I would have faked my death again to get him. Yeah, just
get away from Heather Mills.
Get away from Heather.
Please address what you've written on the book.
I've not finished yet, you little slut.
We're not trying.
Right, the Abbey Road album cover. Whack that up, please, editor. Lennon dressed in white leads a funeral procession. Ringo follows in a black little outfit as he's a mourner. George is in jeans because he didn't get the dress code. Paul McCartney.
It's not actually a funeral procession. That's just what they're saying in the reading.
But Paul McCartney walks out of step with the rest of the band and barefoot. As some had it, he would have no need of shoes in the afterlife because slippers are provided in heaven. Oh God! Now, after this happened, the album sales peaked.
I love that you just written slippers are provided.
Now, after this whole rumor came out, the album sales really peaked. So we could probably get rid of one of us if we want more views.
That's definitely true.
Who's the hardest to replace? Though? I mean,
you just eat a lot. Will you be alright?
Now, I studied Paul McCartney's name for ages on the train journey here.
What did you find?
The word car is in there.
As in anagrams?
No. Yeah.
Way.
Have you spelled Paul McCartney's just
because the rumour was so the rumour was he died
in a car crash. But I also worked out that you can spell my cute car plan.
No way.
Yeah. What a genius. That could be John Lennon who wrote that to peak album sales.
Yeah.
Genius.
So you think Paul was named from the very beginning of his life?
Yeah.
Well, he's dead.
Knew he'd always die in a car.
It's conclusive.
Yeah. It's good.
I worked that out in a matter of minutes, people.
Did he die in a car? Nay.
And it was cute. The real interesting one is Tupac Shakur.
Here's where it gets good for you. You like this one.
Tupac Shakur.
The Tupac one's interesting because Tupac pre-recorded a lot of material. And his last album was called Machiavelli, which is about the story of a guy who did fake his own death.
Tupac went by the stage name Machiavelli, which is the same name as Italian strategist. Well, it's not the same name. Niccolo Machiavelli, who pretended to fake his own death. Tupac read Machiavelli's book, The Prince whilst in prison, and was heavily influenced by it. Some people believe it was where he decided to plot his own false death. There was no funeral, and Tupac was supposedly cremated the day after his death, despite having often rapped about being buried.
Why was there no funeral?
I don't know. For someone as big as that, you'd have a funeral, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, Dale Winton's going to have the full works, I imagine. I hope we're getting invited to that one.
Up there.
Some of the lyrics. I heard a rumour that I died, murdered in cold blood, traumatised. I'm butchering this for old Shakur. Soz lad. Pictures of me in my final states. You know, Mama cried. But that was fiction. Some coward got the story twisted. Also, he was supposedly next to Suge Knight, wasn't he?
Yeah, not next to him, so Suge Knight.
No, he was next to him in the car.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Is it not Suge Knight?
Suge Knight.
Suge.
His name is his name is Suge, as in sugar, but they spell it as in search or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I thought it was like search.
They say it like
Suge. Drinking his old
He's not. Suge Knight is not the friendliest of guys.
So Suge Knight's known for murdering people, basically. That's his
allegedly.
That's a good gimmick. It's a good gimmick.
He's currently in prison for driving over somebody in his car. So I think we could sort of put a cap on.
He's a bit like Mr. Bean.
But not in that. But
he's very much the Mr. Bean of the rap world.
But basically, he was in the passenger driver. Sorry, he was driving the car. And the bullets went in
the back
to
14
from the
bullets.
side to Tupac, and Suge didn't get hit by a single bullet. And a lot of people think that Suge set the whole thing up. So there's every chance that basically they pull up to the traffic lights, Suge ditches his fucking seatbelt, gets out the car, and then they pull up, and that's the end of Tupac.
It was also on the night of a massive boxing match. Yeah, it was
Iron Mike Tyson.
Yeah. So they were saying it was going to be
in Vegas, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that'd be busy, and yet there was no witnesses.
So what happened on that night is quite interesting because a member of another gang basically. There's a lot of people who think he was instructed to get involved with something with Tupac, so that would make Tupac get aggressive and go running after the guy.
Yeah.
And basically Tupac was set up that night, and the people who killed
footage
Tupac
of that as well, isn't there?
The people, well, they reckon. So at the time, Suge was paying FBI guys to be security for Death Row part time as well, and one of the things that happened obviously is people pull up, they shoot him, and then the case completely disappears, and that's why a lot of people think that.
So now there's two conspiracies: did Suge Knight kill him, and then did he just fake his own death and go to Cuba?
Or did Suge Knight help him fake his own death? And then now, because there's footage of him and Suge Knight together that people say is taken after his death.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
We got it on the laptop.
On the Machiavelli album at the start, he apparently says Suge shot me at the beginning of the track. So that little no, was supposed to say Suge shot me.
That's a very...
That's tenuous.
Yeah.
That's tenuous, right?
It's more... Like, you can hear that more than the fucking Beatles one.
A lot of people don't want it to be dead. I think that because he was like one of the most loved artists ever, and he left. I think he predicted his own death many times. So what he would do is he would record songs. This is a known fact of. So on one of his songs he says, "Rest in peace, Biggie Smalls." Now he died before Biggie Smalls. God bless the dead, I think the track's called, and he says at the start, "Rest in peace, Biggie," and you're like, how the fuck? And he talks about like Biggie being in heaven and all this sort of stuff, and it's like you. So he predicted a lot of things in his raps, and he said, right, release this if this happens to us.
Could that also mean though, rest in peace your career? It could be.
No, it was talking about him in a friendly way.
Yeah,
like. Not in a.
Also, it's a bit of that prophet thing where if you say enough things and then you go, release that.
That one.
When it happens, then you go, told you.
That's true, because one of his lyrics is, "Well done to Sonia who won the Bake Off."
Yeah.
She didn't actually win.
Yeah.
She disgraced herself. What? I just don't get why people would fake their own death.
Well, so that you can go away, you get away from all the fame, you get away from all the pressure, you can take the money you've got.
You can relate at this point, like.
Not at all.
But if you're that type of person who's just done with fame, maybe, but
especially with Tupac, there was so much pressure on him.
I think it's the opposite with Tupac. He was like, people think Conor McGregor and people like that, like, bring in attention. Like Tupac was like McGregor times 100. Like, and he couldn't have maintained silence throughout the last 25 years. Like he was so outspoken, he had an opinion on everything.
He was also though.
That's my main thing about him, is he would not have just like been quiet.
You'd want to come back. You want to have that feeling of
I'm alive, motherfuckers.
So do you think that's
just
partly
runs out at like WrestleMania, just like sorry.
But do you think so?
He's walking. He's talking.
John Cena's like fuck.
Do you think, though, that he also... So maybe he just didn't want those parts of fame. He can still release rap music. He can still do all the other stuff and influence society. He just doesn't want to have him as that figure.
I've got one more, but you...
I have
like
one.
This one. I'm interested in this one.
Maybe the reason that Nickelback reached the place they did is because they played the system.
Can we say Hero, the Spider-Man soundtrack, was a good Nickelback
really great,
song.
I don't give
a fuck.
In a nutshell, mine is the Illuminati run the world.
Lizards?
I thought.
No, the Illuminati.
Who run the world? Illuminati.
Doesn't really have the same.
Most conspiracy theories about the Illuminati claim that is a secret power, elite, with an agenda. It's conspiring to eventually rule the world through an authoritarian world government. Hence, why they don't like Brexit. Right? Supposed members include those who run the banks, the finance industry, religious leaders such as the Pope.
The Pope.
Baby stealer.
Entrepreneur families and high up politicians. In more recent years, even celebrities such as Jay-Z and Beyonce have been accused of being amongst the Illuminati, and they say that's the sign you're in the Illuminati.
John Joe Shelby does that.
Yeah, no, that's because
not have him.
John Joe is, well, you never know.
He's too inconsistent.
You've got to say,
he's showing up to one meeting 1 week and not the other.
But there was a reason that he was.
Doesn't Man United away? Sorry. Behave. I'll behave.
The Illuminati definitely did exist at some point, it said here on my fact sheet. A group of German elites set up the Bavarian Illuminati in 1776, a secret power with ambitious goals.
The one I think is about the all-seeing eye, isn't it?
So the all-seeing eye being on American money.
Yeah, so at the top of the pyramid, and the idea is, I think there's the degrees of the... What's that group called, man? The fucking...
The Stonecutters.
If you've seen that episode of The Simpsons,
yeah,
you know
that's actually one of my favourite episodes.
What
are
they actually called, man? The fucking people in that group, man. The Freemasons.
Freemasons.
So
my uncle's a Freemason.
McFly.
Different thought process.
My uncle's a Freemason. He keeps inviting me to go, and I'm always like...
Apparently the Freemasons, low level, are just a normal... well, I say normal. A bunch of guys in a club going for a beer.
They're closeted homosexuals.
They've got no friends, basically.
And if they shake hand like this, so if you're a Freemason, you shake hands and you put your finger there, right? And that's a signal. Sometimes when someone else does that to me, I'll do it too and be like, we're in on it. Just to fuck them up.
But the point is, apparently most Freemasons are just looking to get out of the way of the wife and want to go down to the Freemason lodge and have a pint.
My uncle.
However, the higher up you go, the more commitments that you have to give. And eventually, the theory is, at the 33rd degree,
take the bid
it's satanic worship, basically, at the root of this group. And a lot of people further
down...
My
uncle's definitely not into
are
that.
blissfully unaware of what they're actually involved in, basically.
Yeah.
But on the dollar, that is the...
It's on the dollar...
sign of, basically satanic worship.
People also say the triangle is something to look for.
Yeah, the pyramid, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's the pyramid on there's the pyramid on the dollar, and there's I think it's 13 levels to it, which is a symbol of something or other.
It's the strongest shape in the world. The triangle.
Yeah.
It's very strong.
So you'll often see celebrities giving it that, which basically means I've sold me soul.
Sorry. I've never seen Tom Hanks do that.
But that's because Tom Hanks didn't sell his soul. He was just a good actor.
Lady Gaga, Eminem, Jay-Z, etc. have all been, especially Beyonce. She's done a lot of
triangle eyes.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, there are 3 members in Destiny's Child. That was the Illuminati.
So, all-seeing eye. Celebrity.
So does this mean they tell the governments what to do? Like they tell?
No, they just in on
this is imagery.
So they know what's going to happen.
So even down to the Rockefeller sign.
So they can put bets on.
Rockefeller's a diamond. Throw your diamond.
Really? Does it look like a diamond? A diamond is that sign.
Yeah.
That's a fucking triangle.
No, that's a diamond.
That's a diamond.
So a diamond is what our man over there is making.
You just look like a bit of a
That's a triangle. That's a triangle, right? I'm not disputing it, but
that's a triangle.
That's a triangle. That is a triangle. Right. Anyway, the point is,
it's just got bad.
Seeing like Gaga's doing it, all seeing eye.
How long do you reckon before JJ starts?
Adele.
JJ's already been doing it. He's going to start his video next week.
So basically,
he's going to start with his videos like this.
A lot of celebs.
Okay.
So there is one interesting video I've seen as part of this group. Alex Jones, some people might know.
Jeez, we're not really, are we? Really?
Alex Jones, hitting the nail on the head every time.
So where Alex Jones made his name...
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Obviously we know he's mental. That's not in question here. But what the thing is, sometimes insane people stumble across something. And he stumbled across a meeting of all... So where all of the politicians go... called Bohemian Grove, and this is where he first got his name because he basically filmed satanic rituals where President Bush was there and people like that were there, and this is where he basically got his name from.
Wait, Alex Jones filmed it?
Alex Jones snuck in.
Oh, he's crafty.
There's no way Alex Jones can sneak into anything. Have you seen him?
Yeah. No, this is the thing. Back in the day, he was actually in decent shape. Do you know what I mean? Excuse me, sorry.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's how he got in. Excuse me, sorry. Excuse me.
This might be the footage. Bohemian Grove exposed. That looks about right.
Did you crash it?
Yes.
Yeah, and it has no trespassing signs there too, doesn't it?
No, they put them up after.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. I've been there before. I know what the circumstances are.
All right, well.
Yes.
Also, the infiltrator reads us up. Oh, for fuck's sake. They've got the signs up.
So
they've got the signs up again. Everyone go home.
Pack your bags.
Come on. The Illuminati does not exist, doesn't exist in the form of many people imagine. Celebrities flashing Illuminati symbols is the antithesis of secrecy. I think that they're hiding in plain sight. And that is why this video can never go out. You're all going to have to die.
Set fire to the cabinet.
Oh, it's Bri. Bri Vlogs is back.
Take that to France.
He could live in Shoreditch, couldn't he?
Morning, fellow hipsters.
Let me please.